Hey everybody, what's happening? I'm Tommy and this is The Boat. Hope you guys are doing well. Hey Karen, nice to have you here. Sandy, Wendy, what's happening? Hey honey. Kristen Melinda is here. Ash Bash, you made one. You are here on time and you're catching a live. And this, folks, is this is going to be an interesting show if you are following the Michelle and Rob Reiner saga, right? The tragedy that befell these guys at the hands of their son. And I'm not saying allegedly anymore. It's pretty much established that Nick Reiner killed his parents, which is really unfortunate. However, it is at this point almost undisputable that went down. So as we've talked about many times when we bring this subject up, and I'm going to be covering it, I promise you, through the end, we talk a lot about how there is a group of people out there that are trying to shape the narrative. It's the same people that keep popping up, right? It's the TMZ crowd. It's Mark Garagos. It's the same people that are regurgitating a narrative that, hey, it isn't this kid's fault. And the new talking point on this, hey, squirrel nut zipper, the new talking point on this is that there was a conservatorship. And they love to use this word, conservatorship, because everybody thinks about Britney Spears. We think about Kanye West. We think about all of these different conservatorships that have happened that we are aware of, especially with famous people. This is not what was going on with him. They're also reporting some stuff that you just can't. Anyone else here? Grandpa Carl was a diddler. I can't find anything to back that up. I can find a bunch of people on YouTube that are running with it. And if I ran with it, I'd get more views, but I can't find anything that says Carl Reiner was a diddler. There is a clip of film of him kissing his son on the mouth, right? He's an old man and they did it for the cameras, right? It was one of those things that, you know, if nothing ever came up about this, no one would have said a word about it. You know how I know that? Because it was done 10 friggin' years ago and no one said a word about it. But then as soon as this stuff started to come up, so I can't find that out. If I do, you have my word that I'll report it. But as of now, that just seems to be something that people are saying because it gets views. But this conservatorship isn't the kind of conservatorship where they come in like Britney Spears style. That conservatorship was designed to keep that woman working, right? Put her on the treadmill and keep her cranking it out. Send her out to Vegas. She was she was not mentally there enough, allegedly, to be able to handle her finances. That didn't stop them from working her like a rented mule, doing a residency in Las Vegas. A ridiculous amount of shows, one right after the other, after the other, after the other. They didn't care about that. Hold on one second, folks. I'm going to blow my schnozzle. All right, sorry about that. This is one of those, a different kind of conservatorship. What they did here is something that is known as a Lanterman Petrus short. A lot of LPS, well played. Yeah, no, it was an LPS. There are a lot of channels out there that are making a big deal about this in regards to why was this only 1 year? You know why this was only 1 year, Johnny Scoville?
I believe, I could be wrong, is that how long they go?
Yeah, they are automatically a 1 year conservatorship. Now,
No one's getting that right.
no, it doesn't seem to be something that people look up. But it doesn't mean at the end of that year, say it again?
No critical thinking.
No, not a lot of critical thinking. It doesn't mean at the end of that year you can't reapply. They're also reporting that he had a 5150 hold, right? There are several kinds of holds for this. 5150. 5150 is a hold that is going to get you basically 3 days, about 72 hours. Or a cool police badge. A 5150 hold is going to get you in there for 72 hours so they can evaluate you. They usually do this, like if somebody goes, screw this, I'm going to kill myself. They're going to 5150. Normally the 5150 designation means that you are a threat to yourself or you're a threat to somebody else. So they're going to take you into custody. Doesn't mean you're under arrest. So could Nick have had a 5150 hold and still not show up anywhere as having ever been arrested? You betcha. Because 5150 holds are not an arrest. We are taking you into custody for your own protection. Where's something you don't see every day? Katy Perry. That cat's too damn big and she's somewhat annoying. I try making thumbnails, and as I'm doing this one, she's coming over and biting me on the elbow. Now this cat here, that's a good cat there. The white one, not so much, but Squirrel's a great cat. There's also a 5152. Did you know that, Johnny Scott?
I did not.
The 5152 will get you 14 days.
Really?
Yeah, so that if they need to keep you for a longer period of time. The question on this should not be, what the hell did this mean? because the narrative is going to be, this proves it. See, this guy's not guilty by reason of insanity. And they're running with that. There are people all over YouTube right now that are going, this proves he's not guilty by reason of insanity. And the timetables are interesting, right? Because this was 2020 that this happened. See what I did there?
I did.
That was my Barbara Walters. This happened in 2020. That's the same time that, according to TMZ, he was diagnosed with schizophrenic, the disorder. However, it also, if you read it, it actually says schizophrenia with a / and then schizoaffective disorder. Maybe they write it like that all the time. I don't know. I don't know a lot of people that in my life that have had this. I've talked to people, but I've never looked at their paperwork. So I don't know how it's normally written up, but that's how this is being written up. They're reporting that he had a 5150 hold. It is not automatic. In other words, there are ways to get into this particular kind of conservatorship. The LPS, the Letterman, I want to say Letterman. It's Lanterman Petrus short. You can get into this without having been taken into custody for a 5150 hold. However, let's say that you go to they're paying you to go to one of those $70,000 a month places, and when you go in there, $70,000 a month. When you go in there, you start acting the fool, and I don't necessarily mean trashing things, but you are doing things that make them believe you're a danger to yourself or others. They can then go to court and civilly have you taken in for an evaluation without doing the 5150. So they could come in and literally do it like a day trip. Come in, get evaluated, go home. I'd almost be willing to bet the farm this kind of thing may have gone on. The better question is this. If a month ago they decided to say, we're taking you off medication A and we're going to change you to medication B, why didn't they just do another one of those conservatorships then? These conservatorships can actually force somebody to take medication while on the street. And a person comes in and takes over. Oddly enough, the person that came in and took over, his credentials have him at a fiduciary.
Would you call me?
Yeah, it's not nice, but I said it anyway. It's more along the lines of someone that's going to take care of your finances, which is odd because this cat didn't do that. Here's the problem with this, and this is going to be the problem throughout this entire case, and it's always going to sound like I am blaming the family. I'm not blaming the victims. You know what I'm blaming? I'm blaming Hollywood. I'm blaming elitism, privilege, all of the shit that made Nick Reiner what he was. Because without teeth, right, these kind of conservatorships don't mean dick. Without some kind of carrot and stick, right, there's got to be something where you go, hey, if you screw this up, you're going to get locked up. If you do something you are not supposed to, this is a great point. What a really good point. Also, 2020 is lockdown time where everybody was going crazy. That's an actually really astute observation. It was a time where everyone was kind of going nuts. Now, most of us were going nuts in 2,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet, or in my case, 78 square feet with a roommate. I was actually in for most of the COVID thing. But the truth of the matter is, this guy had his own house, right? He had that large guest house out back. It's about the size of a normal person's home, but he had that little bungalow thing out back on the Brentwood property, which he trashed not once, but twice. When you start looking through this guy's career, he bragged about it. He thought it was very funny. And that's, again, a lot of this came from the Dopey podcast, but there's a lot of other stuff that's coming out too. Like all of the missed opportunities, all of the red flags where they could have intervened. And I don't just mean the family, but this hold that they had on him, right? This conservatorship means absolutely nothing if you're not in any fear or any danger of becoming incarcerated, or you're not in any fear or any danger of something bad happening to you. Normally, when they take this kind of conservatorship, they're not letting you hang out at your house. Everything about how this guy was treated is different. I started looking up some of the rehabs because they don't list all of them. These are HIPAA protected stuff. You're not going to find out where he did all of his rehabs. This isn't going to happen. But because he mentioned some of them by name, you can track them down. $70,000 for 30 days. Did you catch that, Johnny? $70,000 for 30 days. Not once did they send him to a rehab for longer than a month. That's not rehab. It's not. Ask anybody that is in this industry, anybody that works with people who are on drugs. You're not going to get someone stable in 30 days. Yeah, you're just going to cut down on how much dope they need every day to continue to survive. I mean, you might knock down what they're spending monthly, but you're certainly not going to get them on the road to recovery. And this isn't a Tommy Scoville opinion. You talk to anybody that does this. Drew Pinsky weighed in on this and just said 30 days is a joke. You know, it's symbolic is what it is. But the reason that it was never more than 30 days is because he did what he did when he was 7 years old. He dropped to the floor, started banging his hands and his feet and throwing a tantrum. And by the way, I'm not making that up, right? At 7, that's when that started. And family, friends, people within the family said that he would have to be bear hugged to be restrained so that he wouldn't trash the house. At 7, you know what that's called? A big ass red flag. At that point, you got to go, we've got an issue here. Yet, he's not going to get diagnosed until 2020. This is an issue. And this is the issue throughout all of this. And it's not just that Nick manipulated them. And make no mistake, Nick manipulates everybody, right? It's the defining characteristic of drug addiction, and throw in mental health problems, diagnosis, dual diagnosis. And this happens constantly. They don't want to take the medication because it makes them feel different. And they like the way they feel. They want to knock the edges off, so they use street drugs. When they say self-medicate, it doesn't mean you're taking away your symptoms. It just means that you're coping and you feel like you're okay and that you're normal. Now, by all accounts, after he went through this, they got him stable, right? They got him stable. They got him to a point where he wasn't having issues. Hold on a second. What do we got going on here? Good Lord in heaven. You know what? My chat's not moving. Peggy, good to see you. Thank you so much. You look fantastic in green. Debbie, loving life. Good Lord. See, I didn't even see this, but I saw Starred pulled up there. I'm not seeing anybody. Just to thanks for all the work you are doing, and to say thanks for being real and not sanitizing the English language. Thank you. Utmost respect. Somebody else left a comment about that. I'm never going to do it. What's that? Every day. I'm never going to do it. I would, not for nothing. I literally would. Yeah, it feels dirty, man. And I did it throughout Diddy. This girl has reported him for SA. I'm not doing that crap anymore, man. And if it costs me money, it is what it is. It feels a little bit too much like 1984. Damn, the last comment that I can read. This is awful. Well, folks, we just might not be able to do the comments tonight. This has happened once before. This may have something to do. Who knows? Maybe not. But we had some issues today with, maybe I didn't. We had some issues today with the electricity going out around this campus. Yeah, I'm just not getting comments. You know what I can do? Bear with me for 2 seconds, people. We'll see if we can pull it up on the old tablet. So make no mistake, this guy absolutely manipulates every single person in his life. But that is not necessarily the only defining characteristic of what's going on in this situation. It's his defining characteristic, to be sure. Add to that the stigma in Hollywood of having somebody that has mental illness. These people live with, press secretaries almost. They have PR firms. They put out statements. These aren't normal Americans, and I'm not busting balls, but they live far more like politicians or royalty than they do like you or me. And that's unfortunate, because when it comes time to make a decision about what is best for your kid, then perhaps what you should base that on is what's best for your kid. Maybe you shouldn't think, what is this going to do? Step into my office because you're fired. No, I got it right here. Good looking out, though. You fired me? Nah, I just like saying that.
Here's the deal. The pay hasn't been so good. I'm ready.
Well, things have been tight.
I've been thinking about quitting.
Let's say that. That's just called. That's cold and uncalled for. All right, so let's see. I'm missing a lot of comments here. Such a pretty cat. You're right. It really is. Let's see. Hey, Rue, nice to have you here. Sandy, Wendy, what's happening? John. Yeah, I don't think I could. Did mom drink? I think everybody in the family were in control of most of what they did, with the exception of Nick. There are pictures of all of them at one time or another with a glass in their hand. I don't necessarily believe that it was an issue in the lives of most of these people. Now, that's an opinion, and it's not one that I have a whole lot of anything to go on other than opinion. But obviously, drinking is. There we go. I think it just moved. No, maybe it didn't. This case and the Tempe murders are. Yeah, there you go. This is an interesting time for true crime. Hey, Christy Wolf, good to see you. This is an interesting time for true crime. The worst part is this. The biggest platforms that report on true crime, and I don't mean the average YouTuber, but I'm talking about the big ones, they're for sale. We'll pick on Harvey Levin because I can't stand them. TMZ is for sale. There is a narrative they're going to shove down your throat, and the narrative is this guy isn't guilty. And give it about 6 months, and they're going to tell you that if you think he's guilty, you're a scumbag. If you think he's guilty, you're ignorant. If you think he's guilty, well, you're downright evil, right? You have no heart. Hey, Joanne Adams, the problem is that doesn't pass the smell test. It's not freaking logical, right? It isn't. This guy had 150 turning points along the way. There were 5 911 calls made to that house. Oddly enough, Johnny Scoville, none of them aligned with the 2020 date, right? So none of those trips out to Brentwood by the cops would have ended up in that 5150 hold unless all of the money on planet Earth, because they had a decent chunk of it, were able to purge that from the records. I kind of don't think that passes the smell test, right? Every other call out there has been documented, to this much documented. I put in a FOIA to get the notes and everything else from those, and they said, oh, no. When we first came in here, when we first came in here and reported, we said that we're not going to get to see anything or get any information in terms of when they died, what that crime scene looked like. And I'm not a ghoul. I don't want to see the stuff. But if you're trying to report on this, people say, look, he had 16 hours to try to get away. No one knows when the time of death was, right? There's a lot of speculation going on. We don't have a time of death. You don't have to say, here's a picture of the wall where the blood splattered. But to say we believe they died at such and such an hour would make the rampant speculation that is allowing people to just sort of run with the narrative to go away. Hey, Crook, good to have you here, man. TMZ is owned by the Fox Network, Rupert Murdoch. Don't say anything bad about the Murdochs. Nah, go ahead. They are the Trump administration propaganda network. Oh, holy shit. Let's not start with that. Come on. We're better than that. Do me a favor. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe before I offend everybody out of here. Listen, people, honestly, I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. Your politicians suck just as bad as the other politicians suck. Don't come in here and trash either side. I don't want to hear it. And I'm not busting your balls, but don't do it. Because no matter where we go, someone has to. I was watching someone else's live stream tonight, and someone said, hey, you know what? I don't know that that's a great comparison, mentioning a political figure. Doesn't matter which one. And everybody in the chat went, you're in the wrong chat. I was like, holy shit, man. So much for connection. You know what? I don't care who you voted for. I don't. But they all suck, man. They all suck. None of them can be trusted. And let's just go with that, and we can move on, right? The problem becomes this. Do you realize there are people out there, no lie, that believe that Nick killed his parents because Trump had him do it through the CIA? They took this kid in as an asset, which trained him apparently at the Brentwood estate because he didn't disappear for any length of time. But they took him in there and programmed him to go out and kill his parents because they insulted the president. And I'm not shitting you. There is a massive amount of people that believe that. Is that logical? No, but you see, it hurts that guy that they didn't vote for, right? So they're going to run with that narrative, and that shit's got to come to a stop. It really does. It's got to come to a stop. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm really not. But God help us. Let's just all agree that they all suck, right? If one party didn't suck, we would know what the Epstein files were. It's that simple. They all had them for unbelievable amounts of time, right? The Dems could have released it. The Republicans could have released it. They all suck. All right, now back to this. You're going to hear the narrative shoved down your throat ad nauseum. It's not his fault. You know, I heard a good one today, Johnny Scoville.
Did you hear it?
They said, what if you have epilepsy and you're behind the wheel of a car and you have an epileptic seizure and it causes you to, you sort of nod out at the wheel or you go into a grand mal or tonic-clonic seizure, right? You go into the other lane, hit a car head on, you kill a mother and 2 kids in the car. Are you guilty of murder? You're going to compare that to what this dude did?
No.
But you understand that's the narrative, and they're going to run with this. They want you to believe that this is no different than someone that has a seizure, and in the process, you fall down, right, and kill someone by accident. It ain't the same thing. Hey, and I love you. I wasn't busting your balls. It's just that, last night at the very end of the show, and I love the person that said it. I really do. Do me a favor. Put a 2 in the chat if you were alive when Point and Counterpoint was on Saturday Night Live with Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin. Don't you start with me. Yeah, if you remember that one. Because last night, someone at the very end of the chat, after I just talked for an hour and a half about, hey, let's not just, make this political or anything else. The last thing someone said was, you know what? Reagan screwed all of this up. And the economy,
I heard you say it.
the economy was just fantastic, right? before Reagan took over. I don't know what history book you read, right? And I'm not touting Reagan. I just read a shit ton of books. And we had to get a loan on a house was 14%. We were in the worst economic times that America had seen in modern days, right before Reagan came in. And then the biggest boom we had financially up until that time, going all the way back, was under him. Like him or not, that's a fact, right? And I wanted to do the Jane, you ignorant. Well, I'll let it go. I don't want to.
That close.
I was that close.
In fact,
I really was that
close. I swear
close.
I heard you say it.
And people will get that even though I didn't finish it. But I definitely wanted to go, Jane, you ignorant. Tommy, is there a link between Nick, the LPS conservatorship, fiduciary style, and Wendy Williams and Britney Spears types? The Wendy Williams and Britney Spears types are not LPS. The S is the important part of that. It was created in the 60s. This was so that somebody wouldn't do to a client what was done to Britney Spears, right? You go like this, and it's over. You got 365 days to try to get that person's shit together, and then you got to bring them back in front of a judge to deal with it again. Very different than what they were doing. Those, Rue gets it, those kind of conservatorships can go on forever. That's how Britney Spears gets ripped off for $18 million, right? That's how Wendy Williams gets locked in a hotel room that she can't get out of, or in a whatever the hell that place was. Some kind of a treatment facility. But they're literally locking people inside while they wanted to steal their money. So it's a great question, Kirsty, but this is a short-term deal by design. This is designed to be 1 year, and then you got to go back in front of a judge and ask for it. They didn't apparently ask for it. And this absolutely checks out. Now, there's been a lot made of the night that they went to the party, right? They go to the party over at Conan O'Brien's house, and people say at that party, he went up and said, hey, I took you out of the will. Not likely, right? Not likely. Could he have said, I'm going to throw you out of the house? Maybe, right? The threat of you're going to be back on the street could have been something that would be enough to set him off. I think more than likely what you got instead was, we're going to go for another conservatorship. I think, and they may not have said it as a threat. I think they probably said it like, you know what, we may need to get you back into where we're forcing you to take your meds, right? Because this guy manipulates everybody. He didn't want to take his meds, right? So instead of just, cheeking him or doing whatever, he went in there and complained and said, this is making me put on weight. Almost all of those meds are going to make you put on weight, right? Here's the thing. It's a great comment. But the people that are going to agree with you tomorrow are going to shit on a candidate.
Of course.
You know what? Just don't take sides if you agree with them. Don't come back tomorrow and go, that guy's an asshole. They're all assholes, right? When you pick one and call them an asshole, the other half of the country thinks you're picking on them because the parties that be have got us convinced that we have to hate each other, right? I don't have time to hate people in groups. It's difficult as hell to hate them one at a time, right? I certainly can't do it by groups. Yeah, right. Putting weight on typically is a good thing when trying to come off of drugs. It usually means you're actually coming off of drugs, right? For real. I don't care if it's smack. I don't care if it's heroin or if it's methamphetamine or if it's cocaine.
Well, every time I was super skinny, it was a problem.
Yeah, when you're super skinny, that's usually not a good sign, at least for us. But what happens is when you quit, you seek out something that's going to soothe you. And food is very addicting because it does a very similar thing in the body. Now, obviously, it doesn't do it to the same degree, but you get dopamine hits when you eat food. And depending on what country you're in, they actually engineer that stuff so that you get a dopamine hit designed to wear off like this, so that you got to go back and get it again. That's why you feel like you crush a half a bag of Lay's potato chips and then you put it up on the counter. And like 45 minutes later, you're like, I think I might have just one more of those chips. Unless you're brothers, in which case you just destroy the entire bag in one sitting. He was headed for the inpatient unit at a hospital. Told him that they told him not to scare him. They very well may have. I mean, truthfully, we're not exactly sure what was said there, but I'd almost be willing to bet the farm that was happened. Roberta, wrenched your arm lifting your fat dog? You know what? If you're going to hurt your arm, at least do it picking up a pet. Roberta, please take care of yourself. I'm sorry that your arm is hurting. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the support, but please take care of yourself. We need you here, Roberta. We really do. Fat dogs will do that. I got a cat that'll do that to you. I'm telling you, that white thing is becoming a white lion. It's absolutely depressing. So, but listen, don't believe the narrative when they say this absolutely 100% of the time means he had a 5150 hold. It doesn't mean that. There are tons of cases. Will you knock that off? I'm live.
I apologize.
Jeez, man, you can't take them anywhere. There are tons of cases of people that had 5150 holds that were put on civilly that didn't require anybody getting, put in the back of a car with handcuffs on. It's just, it can happen without that. Does it normally happen without that? No. Hey, Tennessee girl, more often than not, there's going to be a 5150 hold. He's going to have to spend 72 hours of evaluation. The better question, and you're not going to hear people talking about it, the better question is, why the hell didn't they do that when they switched medications? If everything they're telling us is true and he was on whatever, right, Geodon, and then they were going to move him to Halidol or whatever, why not say we need to lock him up for 72 hours? Because anybody that's ever worked in this field will tell you that if you take somebody off a medication that's working and then throw them on a brand new one, bad things can happen. You know why that didn't happen, Johnny Scoville?
Tell me why, Tommy.
Because you know who ran this guy's treatment program?
Tell me.
He did.
Well, there you have it.
You know who ran this guy's rehabilitation programs? He did.
That's a problem.
You're damn right it is. This is a guy that, while on a conservatorship to take care of him and make sure that he is, getting the kind of care that he needs so that he can move forward in life, we're still going to give you $10,000 a month and let you live rent-free in our house. He should have been in a facility.
What that was rock bottom security insurance.
Insurance.
Never going to happen.
Correct. They were hoping, it's everything has been a Band-Aid. Everything has been we're going to do everything we can do to help, but we're not really going to go all in. And I'm not blaming them because nobody gets training for this. And all of the people that are in this guy's life are trying to figure out what to do, right? Rob's got 4 kids. Michelle's got 4 kids. And 3 of them are killing it. 3 of them are successful as hell, right? They're happy.
You're all killing it.
Yeah. Bad form. Too soon.
You said it first.
Too soon.
You said it first.
No. I meant that they're doing well, man. You're wrong. They're all doing well. They all have people in their life that they love. Try to find a girl that comes out of the woodwork and says, I dated Nick. Right? Anybody else kills their parents in Hollywood, and we're going to hear about the 9, 10 girls that guy dated. None have come out. Not a one. You know why? Because the girls that he dated, he paid. What are the odds that when this guy was homeless, because he brags about this at one point, he lived on Skid Row, right? Doing dope, homeless. I got news for you. Living the lifestyle that he lived without ever having interaction with the police and getting arrested doesn't make any sense.
I agree with
It
that.
just doesn't. How about this, Johnny Scoville?
Tell me.
They called the cops out 5 times for 911 calls. He never gets arrested. That's hard to digest, but it's not the worst. He has what he called a cocaine heart attack. Now, he said the 2 drugs that he was on were buprenorphine, which is just, what's that stuff called I used to do? Suboxone. That didn't narrow it down, did it? Suboxone, right? Which is it's a drug that you take to help yourself get off of another drug. It helps you get off of opiates. But he was taking strips of Suboxone and doing cocaine, and he said he had been on a runner for almost a week, and he had a heart attack on an airplane. Now, depending on which version of the story you hear, they had to divert the aircraft. Now, I promise you, man, you got to divert an aircraft. The Federal Aviation Administration, the National Transportation and Safety Board are calling the freaking cops. And if they don't have to divert it, but you got to land on a runway and they got to bring up an ambulance, there's a decent chance they're at least going to check your pockets to see if maybe there was a drug you were doing, right? To figure out, what the hell might have caused the heart attack. Nothing this kid did ever got him in trouble. If they had just let him get arrested when he trashed that guest house, this could have been different. But as he said, I can do anything and not get in trouble. If that mindset gets baked into you from the time that you're 7 years old, then when you're 32 and you're in jail going, why am I locked up? Right? I've never been in trouble for anything else I did. I trashed the house. I broke my father's awards, right? They called 911 because there was domestic violence between me and someone in my family. No trouble there. I kicked a door in. No trouble there. Noise violations. No trouble there. Heart attack on an airplane. This guy can't get in trouble. They send him to a rehab. He throws a rock through a window. And none of his stories, if you listen to him carefully, he goes, Yeah, I threw the rock through the window because I needed to fake crazy so that I could get Bupurion. Wellbutrin. He wanted to snort it. He wanted to get high. And then he says to the guy that's interviewing him, and some dumb chick there ratted me out, so I got caught. If you're trying to break the window for the purpose of looking like you're crazy, don't you have to get caught? I mean, so little of what this dude says. If you listen to the whole interview, so somebody in the chat, one of the crew on the boat the other day said, you know, you got to take some of what he said on those interviews with a grain of salt because it's almost performance. The Dopey podcast sets recovery back. I'm sorry, it doesn't do anything to move recovery forward. It glorifies drug use. It's just, in my opinion, it's a shitty. I mean, it's fun to listen to, but don't call yourself a recovery podcast. I mean, for real. The number of people I know who are in recovery who say, I would never watch that. It makes me want to do dope. Well, there you go. Right?
You may have answered this. Was that a commercial flight or a private flight?
That was a commercial flight, according to the stories.
Did he have any financial obligation because of that?
Well, here's the funny thing. So I don't trust anybody anymore. Kind of the story. Nah, it's the truth.
Quit it.
Nah, it's probably me too. I don't think it's them, but I don't trust anyone anymore. So that story, I start chasing down timelines. So I started asking the National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration if they ever had to divert a plane, and they had to. None of them, though, would have matched what he said the flight was going to and from. So, I mean, is it a bullshit story? I don't know, right? I don't. I have a feeling that if what we know about him is true, if he was on drugs from the age of 14 to the age of 32, then if he tells you that today is, what's today, Friday?
It is.
If he tells you,
I think so.
God, that's what living in Ecuador will do for you. I don't even know what day of the week it is.
That's right.
Johnny needs a better mic. It's funny you say that. I've been doing a lot of talking with Johnny. I'd kind of like to put him on this, but the problem with Johnny is he runs off all the time to do things. Can't really sit the guy down for any length of time. But I do want to get him on a mic and a camera. I think it would be a lot more fun. Attention. Yeah, he does a lot of this. He does a lot of this for attention. But the fruits of addiction is bullshit. It's lies. I think he probably looked for dope more than he did. You think I looked for dope more than he did, or he looked for dope more than he did? What are you on? No, I'm kidding. I think he probably looked for dope nonstop. He talks about shooting crack.
Shooting crack?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to mix it with something. You remember the?
Oh,
yeah. So there's a, and I'm not trying to tell people how to do it, right? Yeah, Crook says more Johnny. Look, I really do want him, at least in the top right-hand corner of the screen. I don't want him like next to me screen. It creep me out, but up there and get him a microphone. Nick was the stunt bum on that Dopey podcast. He was used, and it was actually sad to listen to. Yeah, I agree with you on this. I think this is actually a pretty good comment. The only thing those interviewers wanted was Nick to act the fool and increase their audience. Well, yes. And then a little while later, they wanted him to try to get his dad on the podcast. And at that point, the text messaging and everything else stopped. And I think that tells a pretty good tale. He was very, very hurt by this. Rue says, Johnny, always. I think this really hurt him because Nick wanted to be famous, not for being a Reiner. He wanted to be famous on his own right. But he said in interviews, he didn't have the chops. He said in interviews that he self-sabotaged. Now, all addicts do. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. You're more likely to screw up when you're doing well.
Amen.
Most addicts who are in recovery for long periods of time, we spend our whole life fighting, right? Fighting to make rent, fighting to get money to do dope, fighting to keep the police from you, fighting to keep family from finding out. You're always in that fight, flight, or freeze. The vagus nerve is always kicked in, always. So once that stops, we don't understand how to be successful. You get a job and you start getting promoted. That first promotion is a difficult thing for most addicts to deal with because we don't have any, there's no we have no training whatsoever for what it feels like to be successful. So think about it in these terms. If you spend 25 years on heroin, the first 2 weeks you're not on heroin, you feel different, right? You feel wasted because your baseline has been wasted, right? That's just normal. So you start getting sober and it's like, God help us, right? Everything feels weird. It's the same thing with success.
No frame of reference.
no frame of reference. We get really, really good at failure. We got that down to a science, right? It's like watching gambling addicts. I had a friend that used to be addicted to heroin, and we got him clean. He was a good dude, but he picked up gambling as his new habit. And he called me one time from the Peppermill Casino. And I went down. He goes, "You got to come down here and pick me up." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I just hit a 4-card Keno machine for $180,000. I said, "Holy hell, man." I said, "Yeah, I'll be right down there." So I went down to pick him up. MJ says, "I think he's freaking lazy." Well, there's definitely something to that. Tommy, apparently Dr. Drew Pinsky, Celebrity Rehab, has been critical of the 30-day. 30 days is nothing. Anybody that's ever worked in that industry, even on the fringes of it, 30 days doesn't do dick. It just doesn't. You know what it is, in all honesty? It's a Hollywood rehab. When you get a DWI, the people that run your PR team said, "We need to get you in rehab." That's what those things are great for, so that you can come out and make a statement and go, "Man, I hit rock bottom. I don't know what the hell I was doing, putting my keys in the car after driving. I should be ashamed of myself. I am checking into rehab today." That way you can go in there, do yoga, hot rock treatments. They make you smoothies, all that garbage. Tai Chi, $2,000 a day. They better make you some smoothies. Hey, Heather, and then you take off out of there after 30 days and go back and do your thing. Read any rock and roll book, right? Read any of the great rock stars, and they'll talk about their 30-day spin dries. And that's usually the term that addicts and junkies use, is spin dries. But failure feels fantastic to a drug addict because they're just damn used to it. Right. And success gets really hard. And I think every time Nick got close, when he went out and did the press tour for Being Charlie, this is his moment. He's going to get to sit next to his dad. And a lot of us have talked about how, it's uncomfortable to watch him. It looked like he wanted to beat on his dad. It was just not comfortable. Every chance he got to take a shot at his dad, he did. He also went out there and said, "Hey, I've been sober this long." Wrong. He wasn't sober. He admitted that afterwards in interviews. He was using that entire time. And I get it, right? I'm not pissed at him. This is what drug addicts do, right? But most drug addicts don't do it for the entire world and the press. Right. You know what I mean? Most drug addicts do it to family members and friends, and they go, no, seriously, itching their nose off. "No, I haven't done anything in a really long time. I don't know what you're talking about." That's the normal routine. You're not on a talk show. You don't have 60 large newspapers and different reporters coming in one after another to ask you questions. We look at him and go, "You know what? He doesn't look like he's engaged." Yeah, he's wasted, by his own words. But I don't remember who said that. It was somebody that I yelled at earlier. I'm sorry. I'm not giving names. It's all that dope. I did a lot of it, people. They don't call it dope for nothing. But this is really a great comment. I want to go back to it. Because so much of what we watch with Nick, if you frame it that way, and no pass. This kid got to go to prison for the rest of his life. He's guilty of murder. I'm sorry. He's not guilty by reason of insanity. That's bullshit. But there's something heartbreaking about watching people get used because of who they are. There is something just freaking heartbreaking about that. And especially somebody who just wants the world to love them, right? That's Nick Reiner. Fame. Look, the guy already had money. You got a $10,000 a month allowance and your parents pay your bills. The fortune part's taken care of. But his brother, Jake, goes out and he starts to work in the news field and he's doing really good. And then he goes, "Hey, you know what? I think I'll try acting," and kills it, right? One part after another, just hitting it out of the park. That's got to be hard, right, for Nick, who's just wanted to go that route always. And he doesn't have a girl in his life, right? But everyone else does. Why, thank you. What's funny is you two have found your niche. It is great. Well, we've been doing this since, 1977 or whatever. We just, now it's just, am I right? About 77, yeah. Been doing this a hot minute. And it's really funny. There was a girl we used to know in a city called Burlington. And she said, "Man, you two should just talk and film it." Of course, at that point, film meant the camera this big. And we hear that? Fireworks time here in Salinas, Ecuador. They're probably celebrating that the power is running right. Been one of those days, people. MJ, you're right. The guy's lazy. And Rue, thank you for the never-ending support. It means the world to me. This is a dude. This is a sad story. Nobody likes to watch anybody struggle, right? And it had to be very difficult for Michelle and Rob Reiner to watch their kids struggle. Unfortunately, you can love your child to death. And I know that we end up, no matter what the subject is on Nick, we end up getting back to this, and this is by design. But if you're listening to this and you have a kid and you're loving him to death, if you think your job is to make sure that he doesn't go to jail, if your job is to make sure that they don't repossess his car, if your job is to make sure that they don't put him in a 5150 hold or a Baker Act, like they call it in the rest of the country, every time there's an opportunity for that kid to fall on their face, it's like the old adage of the butterfly in the cocoon. You see it starting to break through. If you pull all of that off, it'll come right out. It'll never fly because they have to scrape through that hole and pull all of that stuff off their wings. We don't grow unless we're getting the shit kicked out of us. It's just kind of how it is as human beings. And unfortunately, when you got nothing but money, you can keep someone from getting the shit kicked out of them. You can keep people from having to face consequences for the things that they've done in their life. And unfortunately, that is exactly what happened to this dude. Yeah, Louisa, there is some evidence that his time away from home was absolutely monitored to some degree by his family. It is. There's also some people that claim, and I don't know whether or not this is true, but he also reached out a lot when he was homeless. And if your homeless child reaches out and he's a heroin addict and he says, "Look, I'm sleeping on the street. Can you send me $1,000 so I can get a place to stay for a week, a hotel room, this and that?" I have a hard time believing that the family didn't do it. And here's another thing in the drug world. I was a heroin addict for a long time, and if somebody comes by and the first time you see them, they're wearing a $3,000 watch and they're strung out on dope, you got a pretty good idea that their family has cash. You'll keep getting that person high or that person well because they look like an ATM machine. Right? You'll get them high. You'll keep them going because you know that the first time they start to crash and you go, "I don't have any more dope," they're going to call mom and dad and they're going to Western Union them money, or that was in my day. These days they'll Zelle it or they'll Cash App it or they'll do a bank transfer or whatever the hell it is, right? But I would imagine he looked like an ATM machine to most junkies. He doesn't look the part. But he went out of his way to live this lifestyle. He loved drugs. And when you hear the interviews, again, it's sad, but this is a guy that loved drugs. And he had the ability to control himself in spurts. You hear him in interviews where he said, "Well, I didn't want to relapse there because then I'd be stuck out there. I wanted to be able to get home. So I put the relapse off for a while." Okay, I couldn't put a relapse off. I mean, that wasn't something that I had the control of when I was a drug addict. And I didn't know anybody else that did. If you can control not using, then get in a friggin' program and get sober, right? Knock one of those diagnosis, right? The dual diagnosis. Get rid of one of them. People say, "Yeah, it's really hard that getting the medication right for people that have schizophrenia or have schizoaffective disorder." I got news for you. If you can eliminate the drugs, you at least got a shot at it. But you got a doctor that's trying to do this one, and then when he's not looking, you're dumping a whole other test tube in. They're trying to get chemical levels in your brain right. And if you're doing meth, you're releasing all of these chemicals that literally the medication you're taking is trying to control. What could possibly go wrong? However, now we're going to go into a court of law and we're going to say to people, not his fault. Not his fault. They couldn't get the medication right. Forget all those interviews you heard out there where he said, "I just want to go home and do a little bit of sobriety, right? I'll get off the heroin. But I do want to do Adderall every day, and I want to be able to smoke pot." Okay, Adderall is meth in a pill. I mean, it is, right? It's all part of that same stimulant family. It's all part of the amphetamine family. So you're doing amphetamines every day. Well, that's something that's going to screw with your brain chemistry. And I'm not busting the balls of people to take it because for a lot of people, it's a great drug, right? It's a wonder drug for a lot of people. But if you suffer from schizophrenia, probably not a great thing to do because it's going to release shitloads of chemicals in your brain that your other medication is trying to keep in balance. And I don't think you get a pass for that. I don't. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If your actions lead to the disorder, then how do you say the disorder made me do it? Oh, if you stayed off dope, we wouldn't have had a problem. For real. If you didn't manipulate the doctors into changing your medication. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know that I buy it, period. I just don't. I don't know that I buy that, period. Here's the other thing, by the way. There are AI channels spitting content out about how pissed off the family is and about how they've taken all of this all of these actions to make sure that they don't have any money, that the kid can't get at any money. There's no truth to any of these. There aren't. The will being changed. There's viral fake videos, AI videos out there right now that say the will has just been released and Nick got more money than anybody else. And everybody in the family is wildly pissed off about it because it doesn't make any sense to them. But the thought process, according to them, was, well, everybody else can kind of take care of themselves, so we're going to have to give him more money. There's no truth to any of this stuff. There really isn't. Reggae Bubbles. Methamphetamines and opiates change your brain structure. Yeah, I beg to differ. No disrespect, I beg to differ. So that one methyl molecule, right? That one or acetyl molecule that turns amphetamines into methamphetamines. Number one, we know he was doing meth too. But long-term abuse of amphetamines, and I mean abuse, not using it correctly. But if you're crushing those and snorting them up your nose, right, we're talking about a very different animal. Most of the Adderall today is a time-release version of this, an extended-release Adderall. So get that stuff off the outside. Oh, meth is way worse. Make no mistake. You're 100% right. And if that's your point, you're 100% right. But there are people that have absolutely destroyed their brain just doing amphetamines. But meth is definitely worse, especially because most of the meth that people are doing is made on the street. If you're getting dextromethamphetamine or you're getting Dizoxin or you're getting Dexedrine, right? Those are meth products, but they're made in a lab. And they are, every time you get it, it's going to be the same thing. I've been there when meth cooks make meth. And they're not measuring anything out. It's like, they throw a couple of these in. I've told the story before, but I said to a guy, how many lithium strips do you put in? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you put in X number of pseudoephedrine pills, right? How many lithium strips do you put to that? And he's like, I don't know. I stole 5 batteries. I was like, holy shit. Like, there is no recipe whatsoever. So you'd watch people, and sometimes they would smoke the stuff, and they'd be like, hey, what's up? And sometimes they'd smoke it, and they'd be at the keyhole 2 seconds later, like, look, or in the mirror, picking their face. You're playing with brain chemistry, and I'm watching these guys do this, and I'm going, God, help us. Every single chemical they're putting in there by itself would kill you. And the second it's done, there's a guy pulling it up in a syringe to stick it in his vein. It's not exactly a precise science. You're 100% right. It is so much nastier if you're doing the street version of it. Yeah, and unfortunately, look, I promise you, and I would literally bet you this number right here, Nick wasn't taking the drug the way they wanted him to take it, because you don't feel like you're getting high if you take the pill. There's a ritual involved in cutting it up, crushing it up, snorting it. I would be shocked if he was doing it any other way than up his nose. We already know that the dude had a heroin addiction, right? You start using needles, the ritual of drug use becomes different for needle users. I remember guys in prison that would get high on Suboxone strips, right? And like I said the other day, it looks like a breath strip, except it's orange. It's just a paper thin. And these guys would cut them into small pieces, triangles, and put it on their eye like a contact lens, right? And I would go, why are you doing that? Like, even from a bioavailability, standard, you're going to get way more of it in your system if you put it under your tongue. The reason they did it is because it hurt, right? So these guys were junkies. These were guys that used to prick a needle into their arm. And that pain, right, it becomes part of a process where, like an alcoholic, right? An alcoholic who's literally in the delirium tremens, right? They got the DTs. They take that first shot and it hits their lips and they're perfect. They go, oh God, that drug hasn't hit him yet, right? But your brain goes, whoa, we're home. And it releases all of these feel-good chemicals that instantly put you into a position where you're like, life is good again. Or if we have anybody in this in the audience who's a former heroin addict or a former meth addict, when people would come to the parking lot to deliver your drugs, you'd get out of the car vomiting, dying. As soon as that stuff hits your hand, your brain goes, oh, we're home. And it releases so much chemical. The ritual becomes such a part of it, right? There's a lot of, Tommy, any suggestions for alcohol or sugar recovery? Yeah, a couple of them actually. The first thing that I would do, no lie, if you have the ability, is talk to a doctor. Because we're getting really good at learning what happens in the brain. And it actually dovetails to exactly what I was just talking about. If we know that a great deal of drinking beer and what it does for the alcoholic isn't the beer, it isn't the alcohol, it's your brain going, oh, thank God, and releasing all these feel-good chemicals. So buprenorphine, right? Or naloxone, the drug in Narcan. They will give that to alcoholics. It doesn't stop alcohol from working on you like Antabuse does, where you get sick if you drink it. What it does instead is it stops your brain from releasing feel-good chemicals. So the alcoholic takes, hey, Pete Taylor, the alcoholic takes that first beer and tosses it back, and then there's no feel-good chemical. They're standing there going, what the deuce? Now, you can drink 2 beers, 15 minutes later, you're going to feel it. That's not what they're used to. They're used to that what do you call it? Old school. It's so good. When it hits your lips, it's so good. Take that away, and it changes what that stuff means to you. So I would talk to a doctor before you do anything, especially for the alcohol, right? Especially for the alcohol. But once you get off of the chemical that you're on, like heroin addicts eat sugar out of sugar bowls. You get to a point where it's just, I knew a guy that used to put 4 teaspoons of sugar in his orange juice in the morning. I mean, you just crave it, right? It's something that addiction tends to do to the human body. I started drinking coffee black once I stopped doing heroin. So once I got off my chemical, I didn't crave sugar the same way. But like anything else, if you have idle time, if you're sitting around doing nothing, you're screwed. And that's with any drug. Staring at the same 4 walls will kill you. So when you start to get the craving and you feel like you want to go eat something sugary, get the hell up and get out of your house. I don't care if it's a backyard that's 6 feet by 6 feet, right? Get outside. Don't look at the same 4 walls. You're going to change what you smell, what you see, what you look at, because those cravings last for short periods of time. And people will go, oh man, I was in cravings just all day long because all you did was think about it. If you were to go outside and walk down the street, you go, man, I want dope. All I want is dope. What kind of car was that? Like, you watch something go by, you're not looking at the same 4 walls. You see a bird fly by. Like where I live now, we have flocks of parrots, right? The first time you see one, you're like, what the hell was that? Your brain can't think about 2 things at the same time. And anybody that tells you they can, multitasking and all that, they're full of shit. Science will back this up. If you're sitting there thinking about wanting to do drugs, you're not thinking about anything else. So if you can start thinking about something else, you're not going to think about wanting to do drugs or sugar or anything else. So change your perspective. Get outside. Change what you're looking at, what you're smelling, what you're hearing. If you bombard your senses with things other than sitting on the couch and wishing you were stoned, I promise you it gets a whole lot easier. Hey, sensational. I'm glad you're here. Marissa Martin, glad you're here. You're a sugar addict. Almost everybody is a sugar addict. We design foods in the United States of America to make you crave them again, right? And God forbid you're drinking diet soda. Diet soda actually gets you to crave sugar more than anything on earth because the sweetener, they're like, well, it's not fattening or whatever. No, but it's sweetener. And to the brain, they go, the sweetener, it's so much sweeter than regular sugar that the brain then starts craving more. And you're not going to necessarily drink 40 Diet Cokes. You're going to drink that first 2 or 3, and then you're going to go get some Ho-Hos and, eat something that has sugar in it. But we literally have scientists designing our food to make it addictive, which is depressing, right? We don't run into that down here. Ask Quibs the next time you're in her chat about eating food down here. You eat Oreos and you don't want to eat 100 of them. You eat potato chips, you don't want to eat 100 of them because they're not adding anything to it. They're just taking the potato and they're frying it. It's a very, very different thing. Pete Taylor, I'm glad you're here. And I appreciate that. What a kind thing to say. Well, true crime is kind of my wheelhouse. Sadly, I spent a decent amount of time in it. I'm not particularly proud of that, but based on Nick's past interviews, seems like he lies and embellishes a lot. Dad knew that correcting him in front of camera is a bad idea. Why should we believe anything he says? Just curious. I don't think we should believe anything he says, but a court is going to have to. You follow me? It's a hard thing for a defense attorney. If the prosecutions bring him in talking on a podcast, if you go, you can't believe any of that. That's a really bad thing to say in court. You want the people in there to be able to believe your client. Now, I don't think Nick's ever going to get put on the stand, right? But unfortunately for Nick, there's an awful lot of his words out there, right? There's a lot of stuff that he said out there that there's a decent chance are going to end up back in a court of law, and all of them are going to make him look like a jackwagon. And it's unfortunate for the kid. It really is. There's a part of me that hurts for what his future is, right? I spent a lot of time in a cage, and if you've never been there, there is literally no way to put into words just how awful it is, right? It sucks your soul away, and it's a difficult thing to survive, even if you know you're getting out in 2 years or 4 years or 8 years. But I have spent, I was in a lockdown unit,
And I was with a kid that was 27 years old. He's dead now. His name was Taylor, actually, Donald Scott Taylor. And they ended up killing him in prison. But we were in a lockdown unit, which means me and him in a cell 24 hours a day for 18 months. We would get out 1 hour a day, so 23 hours a day, around the clock. Now, most guys get out for an hour a day, and then they can go out and shower as well. We only showered 3 times a week, and that was if the cops were in a good mood. It was one of the worst prisons on earth. It was a lockdown unit in Lewisburg. But the first time I sat down and we had our first conversation, he was doing life in prison. And to meet someone that has no hope is a horrific thing. I literally watched this dude over 18 months just start to disintegrate. And he had only been in about 8 years. You know, he turned 21 in prison doing life without parole. It's not funny, but he really was. And I think, they sent him to Victorville, and he had a hit on him by a group called the Aryan Brotherhood. They were going to kill him. He knew that. When they sent him to Victorville, that is an Aryan Brotherhood yard. He walked out there because he didn't want to do life in prison. He'd rather just go get killed than have to do the rest of his life in there. It's going to be really hard for Nick when he realizes he's never going to get out. And for someone that lived with that kind of privilege and never had anyone tell him no, he is really going to struggle, right? He's really going to struggle to try to get through this because everyone's going to tell him no. Everybody. Look at Koberger. Hey, my food isn't right. My bananas aren't good. Here's your bananas, man. Sorry. You know what? Hey, can I get another towel? No. I mean, you hear no a lot in prison. And you also get to a point where you realize that they're going to tell you when to go to the bathroom. They're going to tell you when to eat. They're going to tell you when to do almost everything. And for someone that never let anybody tell them anything, this is going to be hell on him. This is going to be, the transition is going to be really hard. Right now, he's alone. Wait until they start sticking him in with other people, right? That's going to be a really difficult thing for him. I do too. I absolutely feel bad for him as a human being. However, and guys in prison used to say this, right? All the time. You'd hear guys in federal prison go, yeah, no, it sucks to be here, but I put myself here, right? I did this. No, they didn't come to my house while I was typing a paper for college, grab me by the back of the hair and say, we're taking you to prison. I robbed banks, right? You do stuff like that and you're going to go to prison. It almost is harder, I think, for people that committed one crime in one night. I remember sitting in front of the judge and he said to me, I'm sure that we didn't get you on the first couple of banks, did we? Right? How many of these did you get away with? And I mean, that's the thing, if you're a heroin addict and you steal to get drugs, you commit hundreds of thousands of crimes, right? I mean, sometimes you're stealing 4 things a day all year long. You're just being a scumbag. And then you get caught for one and you go away. You figure like, well, they had one good day. I got away with this for decades. Nick Reiner, by all accounts, I mean, he's in there for one night. He made a decision that probably took him 4 minutes to carry out. And those 4 minutes are going to mean that 32, let's say that what? They're going to take away drugs. They're going to take away alcohol. They're going to make sure he eats 3 times a day. Probably hit 85. His grandfather lived into the 90s. His dad was healthy as a horse at his age. Nick, let's say Nick hits 80. That's a hell of a long time, man. By the time, or 90 would be even worse. By the time you've done twice as much time in prison as you did out, you're not the person that committed that crime. You're just not. I mean, that's kind of the horrible thing about the prison system is that by the time most of these guys have been in there 3 or 4 decades, right? You're not the same person. My best friend Q killed 2 people. And they weren't good people. They were shooting at him. So he pulled it out and shot at them and killed them. But he was committing a felony when they started shooting at him. So that's felony murder. And that's going to get you 2 life sentences. So, but the guy he is today, I mean, he's a guru. All he does is help people. He's read more books than anybody on earth. He never raises his voice. He's kind to people. He's not the kid that did that. He went and got college degrees. It's just, it's a jacked up system. That being said, my friend here is right. Any hell that Nick goes through now, he has coming. It's sad, but it's the truth. Because if we go any other way, you will get guys who look at it and go, oh, it's 25 years, right? That's what a lot of countries do. You murder someone, it's 25 years. There are people that will go, I'll trade 25 years for that asshole, right? I don't have to change. I don't have to do anything. 25 years, I'll do it. I'll get in there, get in good shape. I'll read a lot, get a college degree. When I go, I'll do it. Screw it. There has to be a deterrent to keep people from killing people, murdering people. right? Killing is different. There's justifiable homicide. Murder is always taking the life of somebody that didn't deserve to have their life taken. You come in my house, you go after my kid, I'm killing you. You go after my wife, I'm killing you. I'm going to do it without any remorse, right? I think it's is it Ecclesiastes? Time to be born, time to die, time to plant, time to reap, time to kill. Sometimes there is. What Nick did was murder. It wasn't killing his parents. He murdered his parents. They were in bed. They weren't doing anything wrong. And my friend is absolutely right. It's easy to say, you know what? I feel for this person. And because I have been in there for a long time, I do feel for him. I know what that's going to feel like. And my heart goes out to the dumb bastard. But I hope he never gets out because what he did is unconscionable. You know, it's bad enough to kill two people that loved you more than anybody on earth, but to do it like a coward when they're laying in bed, right? This is a violent crime done by a violent person. And he is, like someone said astutely earlier, he's a liar. He's not somebody whose words you can put any stock in. So the one thing I do believe he played crazy to get drugs. I do believe that he has been manipulating people since he was 14 or 15, right? And the stuff that he brags about and puts pride in his voice on is enough to make you sick, right? Taking money out of dad's wallet to bang the hooker at 14. This is damaged goods, this kid, man. Murder, shedding of innocent blood. That's right, Mo Rama. All right, people. This has been one hell of a day. I have 3 good shows to do tomorrow, providing nobody runs into an electric pole. Peggy, you look great in green. Thank you for being a new member. Debbie, you really are kind. And Rue, you know what, Rue? You are consistently a very serious supporter of this channel, and it means the world to me. I love you guys. I will be back. I will be doing more on this, but there's some really, really interesting stuff going on, especially with that allegedly, right, the Tepe murders. So they're saying the guy had a silencer. It may not sound like a big deal, but it makes sense, right? Why nobody would have heard the shot. And it may not sound like a big deal to the rest of people. To a criminal, you have no idea what a silencer does. It changes a crime in a way you can't imagine. Judges, for lack of a better way to put it, lose their shit if you silence your weapon, right? Normal people don't make guns silent. Killers, assassins, right? Psychos make their guns silent. It means you didn't snap. It wasn't one of those things. You went out there with the intent to kill someone and do it silently. That thing's heating up. And also, again, you want to talk about debunking? The new narrative in the Tepe case, I'm going to do this in much longer order, but since you guys are following it, the new narrative is this. They mailed out a court document to both parties about a divorce, something about the divorce, and it was an accident. Never should have got mailed out. It was just an error. And they believe that when he got that letter, that's what made him go nuts, and that's what made him kill. It reminded him of the divorce. In the same show, they're going to tell you that he has 2 lawsuits, right, pending for malpractice out of Vegas, and they can't find him to serve him. Professional servers. These are guys that literally skip trace and find people that don't want to get found. Process servers. Skip tracers couldn't find this guy, but the court that mailed this document to whatever the guy's original address was somehow got to him. I swear to God, critical thinking is dead. He never got that. I'll bet you anything on earth. He was trying to disappear, right? He wasn't putting his address anywhere. When he left his old job, he put a fake address and a fake telephone number down. The divorce decree didn't have emails on it. They didn't get that to anybody. Critical thinking, people. All right, thank you for spending time with me. It means the world. It really does. I'm going to go lay down and fall asleep. And hopefully when I wake up tomorrow, there's electricity all day. I am Tommy. Thank you for spending time with me and for your kindness. And remember, if it's happening in true crime, I'll probably be yelling about it. I'll see you on the next one, people. God